Okay, how's this? Okay, cool. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. Me and JB were recording. I split my audio streams, so did not have that one active. All right. Well, it took a while for it to catch up with the no sound there. Um, so I guess we'll start back at the beginning. Flyer Tuck is here. How's it going, Flyer Tuck? He was here early. Good to see you. Audio Geek FPV was here as well. He wants to know how to stream telemetry from a TX16S through Bluetooth to a tablet. I have no idea. That sounds like a project that you would need to get an Express LRS dev to work on, or Trappy, as you've mentioned. Yeah, I have no idea how that would work otherwise. Blythen is here. How's it going, Blythen? 509 FPV. Crabtree FPV is here. I did reach out to Bardwell about the flow state thing, but he said he's looking into it and doesn't know much else. So I'll let you know if I hear. Apache Smoke is here. How's it going, Apache Smoke? Blythen was asking about finding local people to him. Yeah, Facebook and MultiGP are both great resources. So Spook FTV's here. How's it going, man? Whole bunch of no sound folks in the chat. Thanks for everybody letting me know. Andy Cooper, I have no idea. I do not watch the intro. Or I do not watch the couch. Because half the time they don't talk about FPV, and it doesn't quite interest me, so. Cool Cats here, how's it going? Isaac Mitchell. Flyer Tuck has returned. Good to hear that. Good to hear that. The audio's going good. Everybody can hear me now? Cool, cool, cool. Cool, cool, cool. So what's up? How's everybody doing? Who's got questions? Give me some questions. I got answers, hopefully. Except for Audio Geek, which I can't, unfortunately, can I help you with that? I'm glad you enjoyed that, Spook. I think you're pretty fast on there, huh? You're up quite a bit faster than we were, that's for sure. I need to fly 5-inch more, but I don't know. I just fly a lot of whoops too, so. For anybody who doesn't know, me and JB will be doing some random pop-up streams over on his channel in the next few weeks here. We did one for AI drone sim and liftoff. And if it has multiplayer, we'll try to open it up so people can hop in and play with us. Compost Piles here, good to see you. So for anyone who's looking to stream the Flow State documentary tonight, JP says that is still a thing you can do. The wording is just misleading, even though it says that you can stream it on demand later. You can also stream it tonight when the showing happens. So on demand starts tomorrow, but if you catch it for the showing, you should still be able to watch it tonight without an issue. He did check with the folks and confirm that. So I'll let a couple people know here. All right. $509. Good to hear. It's beautiful over there, man. Good to hear that. Pacific Northwest Pilots is here. Yeah, we always got to have the Henry cam if I can. So he's a sleepy boy today. Kevin Smith, I do not know. I believe so. I think you can watch it that entire time. Like your ticket, I believe how it works is your ticket counts for like one thing. So if you watch Flow State, you can watch it more than once. But you can't watch like other things in the film festival. But I'm not for sure. The way the ticket is worded, and especially after knowing that it says on demand, but you can watch it tonight, I don't actually know. Yeah, Pacific Northwest, the added chat has been on since I started back on these FPV chats. Hopefully it helps anybody who watches afterwards. They can get a little context. And I don't have to totally read off, exactly what everybody says. So, especially as more people show up, it gets a little bit difficult to get everybody included. Ook FPV says Mamba Choka 1606, 3750, or 1404, 4600 for large indoor races. What's the math on that? Hold on. I would probably lean 1404. 1606 is kind of like a 4-inch motor, but I mean, with racing, I understand why you want to oversize a little bit, but I start to get worried about weight, I guess. And then also like responsiveness, because that's like more than 50% more stator volume. I'd probably lean like 1404 or something in the middle of those, but I'd probably lean 1404. $509 FPP says, you and Bardwell got me starting to work on my racing times now after 2 years in the hobby. Yeah, that's one of the things that improved me the most was just sitting down and racing on the sim, especially like getting in some of the sim races like you're talking about. They really help you improve because then you meet other people around your time and you race on the off times, or when you see each other on the leaderboard, maybe you want to spend 30 more minutes to like beat their time and then send them a little screenshot or whatever, like tag you're it. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Even if you're slow band, a lot of times it's still good to compete in those races. If you can get around the track in a reasonable amount of time without just crashing out totally, um, I mean, even crashing out totally, but so a lot of those races at least let you compete, and then worst case, you don't qualify into the top, 16 or 32 or whatever goes on, or you're in the bottom, and then you end up in like the third bracket. So I know in most of the races I've been to, even the people in the lower brackets, like the winners of those will still get prizes. You know, they'll just be lower. Emergency mode is like a catch-all. So if like a command is sent that like it doesn't understand, sometimes it'll emergency mode, or if the power connection is lost somehow, or if the power was lost last time and then you reboot it. There's a couple different reasons, but um, if you find that it is not related to anything in particular, it could be wiring slash ribbon cables, whatever I think the TX16S is wiring, but I have heard of people having issues because of that. Text says, Blunty, I think I could be more successful if I gave up FPV and took a gig playing kazoo in a dive bar for tips. What are you? I mean, I know we're having fun, but I don't, if you mean making money in FPV, then you just gotta look in the right places. I don't know. My gigs in dive bars have been terrible, so I'm biased against them. Hidden Hollows FPV, what about 1606 for Taycan 6S? You probably want to oversize, but I would probably go bigger, like a pancake motor style for something that large. But yeah, oversizing for a Taycan or something of that style is not a bad idea. Cool cat, I have no idea. Could be about the amount of signal that can get sent down the line, or attenuation, or grounding, or ground plane commonality, or interference, or pull downs, or resistance, or like I just don't know. With analog video, I have no idea. There's just so many factors that it could be, knowing how electricity works, that I have no idea. Isaac Mitchell says all gigs at dive bars are pretty rough in every industry. Yeah, it's been my experience. I was a karaoke DJ for a while, and it was horrible. And I think the Cadex Loris is one sensor as well. I haven't actually opened a Loris to know. Ram Dunko says Runcam Split 3, but yeah, I have no idea. That karaoke gig was so bad. I did it at dive bars. I did it at this country western place. Oh man, I did not do it for long. I'll tell you that. The boss was the worst part of it. He thought like he was a master of positioning of all the sound and tweaking everything perfectly, and I don't think he understood that everyone was drunk and singing into a microphone poorly. So, compost pile. I do use concentrates pretty rarely though. So, like I have a jar of rosin somewhere here, but it would take me more than a minute to locate. It's kind of the That's how little concentrates I do. Audio GEC, yeah, I would assume flashing OpenTX would lose the calibration because it should be on the SD card. So when you drag over new SD card contents, I would imagine that it gets wiped. I'm pretty sure it's stored on the SD card anyway, instead of on the radio somewhere. But I don't know for sure. That new Runcam Split HD is, I believe it uses the same system as Runcam Split 3 does, that Ramdonko brought up, and that is one sensor, but it's digital. So I think they're just splitting the MIPI. And with a digital signal, you don't have to worry about like line attenuation and stuff. You don't have to worry about interference because it's just ones and zeros. So you either get them or you don't. Like it's very obvious when you're getting breakup from that and stuff. So my guess, if they do actually need two sensors where they're not using a digital interface, it's because of that. That Runcam Split HD doesn't make any sense to me still though. Like it doesn't quite add up, so I'm still waiting on it to come out. They add that red dot in there on the DVR footage. And if they add that red dot in there on the DVR footage, but it would add more latency to add OSD, it doesn't really add up, so. Sorry about that. Fly into something real quick here. Whoa, all right. Naked vistas work great. I would suggest. I mean, but it's all about weight. So, hey, Mo's here. How's it going, Mo? Let's see. Jeff Beck was asked what he thought about his future after he heard Jimi Hendrix. He said he thought he'd quit guitar and take a job at the post office. Ah, gotcha. Yeah, I've never had that attitude. I would be the stubborn one that keeps playing. I mean, I guess Jeff Beck did keep playing, but that would be my attitude as well. Is oh well. It's Darts is here. How's it going, bud? Good to see you. Krasimir K bought new motors for his first drone, Racer Star Air C2550. They should be okay for freestyle. Presumably those are 4S motors. If you're on 4S, then those should be good to go. Racer Star is not a well-known brand. I think they're mainly sold on like Banggood, but they should be fine. Yeah, it's a 2207.5. That's perfectly good for freestyle. Let's see, where are we at here? Scott Smith says, how easy is it to update Edge TX to 2.5? Does the RC builds also fix USB latency, running an RC with no issues and don't want to update? It totally depends on when you did the, when your RC is from. So you've got to look up the build. You have to look up the build you flashed and then go back and see when that USB latency fix was merged in to see if it's in your RC or not. It was merged in sometime between 2.4 and 2.5. Mo says, is that USB latency for SIMs on all OpenTX radios, including jumpers? Yes. Anything running OpenTX or EdgeTX before basically 2.4, or any RCs before it was fixed on the RCs of 2.5, are going to have that problem. Oh, if you're on like, are you on 2.4 RC9? Like, or on 2.5 RC9? Like when 2.5 was in RCs? If you're on 2.4 RC9, you do not have it. X9D, you should be able to update to HDX, yeah. As far as I know, but I don't know that much about the FreeSky radios at this point. I'm learning less and less about them, and I'm happy to know less and less about them. Yeah, if you're on 2.4, you gotta fix that. Get that updated. Well, you don't have to, but if you want that USB latency fix, you gotta get that updated. Yeah, you can do wireless SIM over a flight controller. You've just got the delay. Remember, so you've got the delay from your gimbals to your mixer, mixer to USB, USB on the computer, and whatever latency is there are the three pieces if you're doing USB. If you're doing to a wireless SIM on a flight controller, then you're doing gimbals to mixer, mixer to internal module protocol with its rate to the flight controller's rate inside of the pass through, and then pass through to USB. So all those pieces have to be, fast enough. Ramdonko, you gotta be, I don't know what that means. Do you know how to put USB drivers back on a board 1S AIO? Press reset in Betaflight and seem to remove USB drivers. That should not be a thing. So I don't know what you mean there. If you mean you can't connect to the board anymore, then you need to reflash the board. That's how you get back onto it. If you mean you can't connect to any board and you've somehow removed the USB drivers, which would not happen from resetting in Betaflight, but if you somehow remove them in Windows, then you would need to reinstall them or use like Impulse RC driver fixer or something. But if you've somehow reset Betaflight so that it shouldn't be possible anymore, but if you somehow reset Betaflight so that the USB VCP MSP isn't connected anymore, and you can't use USB at all, then you would need to reflash that board with the boot button. I believe you have to use the boot button in that case to get it into DFU, since there's no way to talk to the MCU. Yeah, if you somehow remove the ability for it to connect to USB, then you need to hold the boot button when you plug it in and get it into DFU and then flash it. Yeah, for a while it's been difficult, if not impossible, to actually click and remove the USB VCP MSP. But I guess that maybe it's still possible. Give me just 1 second here. I got a DM I gotta answer. Sorry guys, just 1 second. Locating an email. Never stops. Let's see. Okay. Hey, Mo, thank you for the donation, man. 4.99 Mo says, do you know of any adjustable angle GoPro mount that doesn't rely on GoPro's screw? I feel like I do. I'm just trying to remember where I saw it. That might have to be a question for the chat or something I look up later for you. I feel like I've seen that before, though. Like, there's ones designed so you can put, like, a metal rod or, like, a bolt. That's a good question. Which version of the GoPro? I think you probably just want the mechanism so you can tack it all together, but if you have a specific GoPro, that would also be a good thing to let people know. So maybe they can find an exact one for you. I know I've seen them before. I just cannot think of how I would Google to find that. I don't know who made it. Frenzy Incarnate's here. How's it going? Good to see you. Callie says motor was twitching after a crash. Power cycled and worked normally for the rest of the flight. Are the ESC's days likely numbered now? Uh, Probably not. It's possible there's like a safety or some component that was just heating up because it was stationary for a minute. I wouldn't. If you haven't ever seen it again, it was just after a crash. I would say probably not. I mean, normally that's a sign of like losing a phase, but it's possible you tripped a safety or something on the ESC, or you've like overheated a component. So I wouldn't be too. If it happens again, especially not after a crash, then I would 100% say your ESC's on the way out. But I don't know that I would immediately just like assume that from one set of twitching. GoPro 10, looking for an idea and can redesign it. Okay, that's what I figured. Frenzy, you can't share links here, unfortunately. YouTube won't even let me approve them. I've gone through all the settings, but it just auto blocks links. So I don't know how to fix that. If you type in like who you can search on Thingiverse, maybe, or something like that, maybe a way to let him know how to find it, or like the exact name of it, or like maybe like the thing number in the URL, or yeah, there you go. Perfect. Perfecto. Audio Gex says, is it true that you get high when you harvest early and stoned when harvesting late? I assume it's one of two things, either a joke or a question about trichomes. Yeah, basically, well, I have actually a great picture for this. Give me just a second. Well, you aren't even gonna like expect what picture you're gonna get here. Now, this was from a while ago, so as to the recent validity of this, like I know this was correct at the time through testing, but no idea where we're at now. But here is a little bit of a chart for you. So this is what happens over time and over process. Put a link in the chat to that imager as well. But basically, what this is a way to look at what will happen to each of the components of cannabis and where they come from. So if we like delta 9 THC, right? That's the one that gets us high. So if we look at delta 9 THC here, is there like a way for me to like highlight somehow, or ping, maybe. All right, well, anyway. Delta 9 THC you see is here, right? This comes from THCA, and this comes from CBGA. So in the plant, CBGA is breaking down constantly through acid synthase into THCA, and then it's either decarbing, okay, which is heat, decarboxylizing, into delta 9, which heat or process basically in the plant, or it's oxidizing into CBN. And what happens over time is essentially that amber that you see, part of it anyway, is this oxidization from THCA into CBNA and then CBN, instead of THCA into delta 9 THC. That's that reddish brown color you see. There's some other bits here with like THCV and CBV, but this totally depends on the plant. But most of what you're talking about, that ambering, is this difference between THCA and CBNA and this oxidative step here. So I hope that helps. Essentially, yes, it does change, and it's because of CBN. Sorry, that's the easy way to say what I'm trying to say. Because this conversion into CBN starts to give you the couch lock. See, delta 9 can convert into CBN as well. This is where you get that couch lock. You got to be a little bit concerned. All right. What else is in the news? What else are we talking about today? Callie said, hopefully that's the case. First scare I've had with this iFlight Beast F7 after tons of crashes. Yeah, this seemed to be pretty solid from what I've heard. It's more like software issues than hardware. Bobby the Shank, thanks so much. I mean, you're not looking at all this stuff, right? So might as well have this adorable puppy here. We can hang out with him. Frenzy Incarnate says, how's your knowledge with the antennas? It's all right. I mean, I know how antennas work and stuff. But I'm not too great at picking you out specific antennas I would use. I'd probably just go like YouTube antenna shootouts by like Mute FPV and RC Shim and folks like that for my antenna testing sources. Is anybody here running a SpeedyBee ESC? SpeedyBee F7 stack? Sorry, it's actually the SpeedyBee, yeah, F7 V2 stack with the 45 amp ESC. Is anybody else running that? And if you are you having any issues with it? Or is it great? Please tell me if you are running it and it is running great. I don't want to hear just from the people with problems. Specifically, what problems did you have? That's, I guess, the question I have. Frenzy Incarnate. Yes, it would not make a difference. That is correct. There's no right or left-hand bias to the linear antennas on a V2. So with the V2 antennas, there's no difference between using an RHCP or an LHCP antenna on your air unit or Vista. However, the best thing to do would be typically to change those V2 antennas to RHCP or LHCP 5.8 only, so they're not dual band and you're not losing that gain. But if you have a DJI FPV or you just don't want to do that, also that's your prerogative. So, right, I think we're gonna do a little bit of this action here. Right. Added a few folks as mods who are here often. Hope you don't mind if I did that. You don't have any responsibility to do anything, but now you got a blue name, so. Mr. Graham is here. How's it going, man? Good to see you. Tone is here. Are you just Tone on Discord? Is that the same tone or a different tone? Tone. Evening. My last two Happy Model ERS AIOs keep resetting in midair when the batteries get low. Feel like my batteries might just not be up to it. What do you think? Thanks. I mean, how low are they sagging? If they're sagging, yeah, I think we need to hear voltage. It could just be, I mean, if they're new AIOs, then I guess I would ask, did you solder on the battery leads, or did they? You might reflow those battery leads. 3.2 should not, the flight controller shouldn't die at 3.2. There were some Happy Model AIOs, though, that were losing configuration at 3 volts. I mean, so it's possible that's just the same issue again. That was like a problem with the Happy Model Crazy Bee boards, I believe, that were in maybe the Crazy Bee X, or I can't remember which board it was, but it was in one of the modulas. That was a problem for a while, but it was fixed because it was some kind of pull-up resistor thing they were doing. So if that's happening again on the ELRS AIOs, that is really unfortunate. Yeah, what I would say, I guess, in summary, is that there has been a problem before, where if you get under 3 volts, like right at 3 volts, it would lose all config. So it's not crazy to consider that that would be happening again. If it is, that's real disappointing. Can you email news@fpvknowitall.com about that? That's news@fpvknowitall.com. If it's losing, let me say this: if it's losing config, if it's like totally losing config, then I want to know about it at the news, and that's not your fault. If it's just dropping out of the air, like the AIO is resetting, but you're not losing config, I would look at soldering, connection, stuff like that. I would not expect the battery to just die at 3.2. Also, make sure you're calibrating your voltage. If you haven't calibrated voltage, make sure when you're plugging in that you're getting the same voltage that you took it off the charger at, or right at that level. Or, when you put it back on the charger, it's the same as you're seeing on your flight controller. Let's see. Senor Drone says, speaking of antennas, I'd like to have a removable antenna on my Vista so I can use a stubby for freestyle and a longer antenna for medium range. Any recommendations for such a setup? Probably like a MMCX to, I mean, basically, or UFL to MMCX or UFL to SMA. Just like try to find one that has good ratings that other people have used. I don't have a specific whip in mind that I would use, but any of those little connectors, they're gonna have like 1 or 2 dB loss in gain, but you're gonna make up for that, maybe even like a half a dB. But you're gonna make up for that in the fact that you have all this changeability and stuff. So I would probably put like some kind of SMA mount in the back, and then run like that UFL to SMA or UFL to MMCX. If you do MMCX, it should be a locking connector. Bobby the Shank. I left like four 4S batteries charged and never discharged them because I didn't get a chance to go fly. It's probably been 2 months. Or are they scrapped now? Uh, I would check them. I mean, I wouldn't call them scrap. If they're totally swollen and gross, then probably. But I think Bardwell said in the testing that he saw it was like 15 to 20% or something over 30-ish days. And then it kind of trended down from there. So I would guess they still have 70% of the original health in them. Like they're not going to be champion packs. But I would still fly them like for practice and stuff, unless they're all swollen and gross. They're going to be swollen some, I'll tell you that right now, from being overcharged for that long. But if they're not like horrible, I would probably still use them. But that's me. Use them at your own discretion. Is it 5%? Okay. I thought it was more than that. I thought it was like 20% or something. $5% is nothing. It's like literally nothing. Like that's nothing anyone should ever care about. That's my opinion. But I thought it was like, yeah, 15 or something. Lemon C, you're asking the wrong person. Best GoPro hero settings for night flying. Yeah, I have no idea. No idea. I mean, it's capacity, but it should be similar. I think you're skipping down you're basically skipping down the discharge tree or whatever. You know how when you see a battery, you have like the discharge, the sag line? I think you're just like skipping whatever percent down that sag line. So you're like quickly hitting, the sag you would have seen before. Or I guess maybe it's just steeper, but Graham Donko changed his BT2 connector and solves some power loss problems. Yeah, that's always a good thing to do. Especially on whoops and stuff, man. Those PH2s and BT2s need to be changed every 100 times. Every 200 times, definitely. Hey, Ghost Branch is here. How's it going, Ghost Branch? Good to see you. Dave says XT30 whoops for life. Yeah, a little heavy, but I agree. Owen says, I don't think I've ever got to 100 flights with a whoop before I killed it. Oh, man. That's a little rough there. Ghost FPV's here. How's it going, man? Good to see you. Willie FPV? Wiley FPV? Willie FPV says, hello. Is it a good choice to switch to Rush Tank Ultimate Plus from iFlight VTX Force? What do you think about it? Rush Tank is great. If you're having problems with your iFlight VTX, then Rush Tank is definitely solid. If you're not having problems, I don't know that I would switch, but Rush Tank makes very good stuff, from my understanding. Tony Horn, no, never. I do not. The chips aren't populated anyway for 2.4 gig on the Air unit and the Vista, so they would have to like make new ones, and I don't see it happening. I think we'll see a whole new system. That's my opinion. Pacific Northwest, no, I have not. 509, yeah, when I started, I definitely had, I would say I probably got 2 or 3 packs in my first 3 ESCs. Um, one was my fault, one was sort of my fault, so life happens. Captain Sinep is here. How's it going? Good to see you. We at 9 here, so how's it going, man? E-Doc's here. Good to see E-Doc. Can't change the channel in the OSD. That sounds like just a bad VTX table or something. They have all of them listed, though, I think, on their website, so I'm not sure what the deal is with that. .509 started with the Whoop, and then 4-inch, 5-inch, back to a Whoop. All are dead currently. At least I can make repairs for him. Yeah, that's definitely good. Gotta know somebody who can fix some stuff. Yeah, Ghost FPV points out Oscar Lang has that VTX table. I think he has a specific listing for that Rush Tank VTX table. Pacific Northwest flew his first quad, an X220S, into a tree after 6 days. Good stuff. Yeah, I immediately brought up VTX tables just because I have seen multiple people with that same problem with those Rush VTX. It's a little digging around for the right table. I'm not really sure why. Yeah, some sim hours would definitely help out. I agree with that, Cool Cat, for sure. Somebody asked me, I think I missed it. Am I watching the Flow State documentary? Probably tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see if I can get to it tonight, but it'll likely just be tomorrow. Should be streamable on demand. Gotta be honest, I'm not super excited about the Flow State documentary, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I don't know. Like we haven't seen anything about it, so it's like we saw like a little trailer and stuff, and that's like all we've heard, and then it's just been hyped for the last however many months over and over again. So I'm trying to keep my expectations low, to be honest. Market zero, I believe that's correct, but when you set it to 50, you actually get 25, effectively. I believe that's the case. Because when that B-Brain brushless V3 came out, there were a lot of complaints that you didn't have a race VTX mode because there was no 25, there was only a 50. But then they came out and said like, hey, we tested it and it's like 24 to 26 when you pick 50. So I believe that is correct. Joseph Sear, how's it going, man? Good to see you. JRFPV, yeah, the premiere is tonight, and then you should be able to watch it on demand for like a week after. Yeah, I think as like a thing for the hobby, I think it'll probably be pretty cool, but I'm not sure how much like for people who are already in the hobby and who know all the stuff, like if it's going to be that exciting. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to keep my expectations low so I'm not like disappointed. Uh, but we'll see what happens. We'll be honest about it, that's for sure. Some people might call me a negative Nancy because I am sometimes, but skepti- skeptical Steven. Yeah, Callie for sure. It's definitely a double meaning name. Let's see. Yeah, it's on 6 p.m. PST tonight. Um, and the link is the Golden Gate Film Festival. It's in the chat there. Also, anybody who I made a mod should be able to post links now. I think. Not 100% sure. Ghost FPV, that kind of depends on, how do I put that? I guess it depends on the person. Some pilots will develop their own like unique flow. I think a lot of pilots just like kind of end up in a similar kind of thing. Like there's styles, right? Like some people will fly Spang or whatever the other styles are. Spang's the only one anybody says like out loud that much. Um, so there's like similar styles and stuff, and then people try to make them their own or do their own tricks or whatever. But uh, definitely don't think there's like a time frame. I think it's going to be like some people start racing and then like are immediately in the top 100, like in the first month, and some people start racing and will have to grind 10 months to get there. Like I think it's the same thing with flow in freestyle. Dave Pensilquin says I always pronounced it Espang or Espang. JRFPV. I know Bob Rugi was complaining about them blowing a like basically stealing money from him. So That may be why. He posted it on his Patreon. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. It should be exciting. Hopefully, it's a good flick. Bardwell has posted a video explaining what I mentioned earlier, that it is definitely going to be on, and he's posted his live stream for when it's going to show. So on 6 p.m. PST tonight. Always hath been is here. How's it going? Good to see you. Guillermo's here. How's it going, Guillermo? Family Guyver. Yeah, you have to buy a ticket to watch it. I think it's like I don't know what. Let's see. Let's not pick the wrong. It's $17.55 for a U.S. person. $15 plus a $2.55 fee to just watch the single uh, single movie. Yeah, hopefully the amount of people who buy a ticket and then just watch Flow State will give some kind of metrics to show that people are interested. But honestly, I have no idea, like, you know, how many people normally watch Flow State. I don't know. I'm sorry. How many people normally watch movies at a film festival? Like, how many people do we need to have to like shake things up for them to go like, oh, look how many people. Yeah, I think you just get to stream it for the next week. I think there's still the 14th that you get to stream it, so you don't actually get to own anything. It's just like a ticket. I'm kind of worried it's going to be like just like a long freestyle video, and that's definitely not something I care about. But we shall see. Justin Rice is here. How's it going, man? Good to see you. It's darts. I don't know. I obviously don't. I don't really know anybody, so maybe at some point, but I don't even know what we would do. Yeah, Bobby, I think that's totally dependent on how they did it. So, yeah, Daxasy, I did not. I did not. If I like wanted to pay for to fly myself to the premiere, I could have gotten a ticket to the premiere, but I was definitely not interested in doing that. So, Ghost FPV, yeah, that's my understanding. It's kind of just a way to show people what the hobby is about and that it exists and stuff. Well, it's the Golden Gate Film Festival, let me see. DRL is not doing bad. Have you like looked at the you looked at the viewership on these broadcasts? Like just on Twitter, the level 1 broadcast on Twitter from this year. Not even like past ones, which there are past ones that are bigger. Like this is just this year. This is level 1 and it's 1.3 million views on Twitter. That's not that bad. And that's like this is also on NBC. So, I don't know. I'm pretty impressed that they're able to pull 1.3 million people and they don't even link the fucking Twitter on their website. That's better than I would have ever guessed they would do. Like ever. It's still a big number, Guillermo. I mean, you can be negative all you want, but that's still a large number. Okay, why don't you do this, Guillermo? Tell me exactly how many viewers they need every week to get it on Netflix. How many? Exactly what countries do they need to be in? What exact statistics do they need to have? What exact metrics do they need to do? Who do they call? What person do they talk to? Do you know any of that shit? Or are you just making it up? It's like, I mean, I don't know. You do this in every fucking stream, Guillermo, but good lord. Like, hey, let's be negative and counteract the entire chat every stream I'm ever in. God damn. Give me actual numbers, or shut the fuck up. Cool? I can ban you too, that's fine, if you want to be a counteractive asshole about it, but... Like, be like helpful. Say things in chat that are actually fucking helpful to anyone. That'd be cool. Thank you. Yeah, we all know Guillermo. If you've ever been in FPV chat, you know Guillermo, so... That's fine. He can either be positive when he comes out of timeout, or he can get banned. I don't really give a shit. So, I don't need him here, if he's gonna be like that. Like, we don't... It's not what we're here to do. No, this is not a democracy. JRFPV, Bardwell is doing a live stream tonight, watching the flow state thing. Justin Rice, maybe, but I can't make any promises. So, shoot me a message, and we'll see what we can figure out. Danger Commando. I am not going to get mad at you as long as you don't make shit up in the chat. Especially when it's like, hey, let's counteract the chat with some negative information that I don't actually have. So, it's always annoying. Oh, Hidden Hollows FPV. How's it going? I don't recognize you. Thank you so much for donating $5. Glad you're here. Yeah, June Locust says, I'm excited for the new jumper radio. That T Pro, yeah, is only 900, unfortunately, but it does look exciting. And then Mo brings up the iFlight radio. Yeah, that one is going to be nice because it's 2.4. You can actually take a look at that. This is the jumper T Pro. I'm just go ahead and ban in Guillermo and this other person who claims to be Guillermo. So, Danger Commander, I don't know if you're a Guillermo or not, but if you say you're Guillermo in the chat, you're going to get banned for being trolly and saying you're Guillermo. So, it's hard to tell a joke with chat when you can't tell. But it's all good. Just go on now. Yeah, it's so funny. Everybody has different opinions of how long FPV is going to last, man. Anyway, so this is the Jumper T Pro. This is only 900 though, but it sure does look like a Tango 2 and a DJI controller, doesn't it? Like for real, for real. And then, nope, we'll talk about that in a minute. This is the iFlight radio. So this is 9.4 and or 900 and 2.4, both versions. They're saying it's not clear if they're both on the same radio or they're two different versions, but I would have guessed they're two different versions. But this is supposed to be XpressLRS as well. Tone, the jumper is real. Yep. It was delayed though. This one has not been reported to be delayed. So they said this one will be 11/20. So it should be available for order in 12 days. Yeah, I don't think they can do both in one radio because that's two different LoRa chips. So basically, I mean, they could maybe, but that's a lot of work that I haven't seen the code has been done for anywhere. Like there's no XpressLRS repo for that, so there would need to be like a switch where they would have to do their own code. Um, and then Orca announced a new radio. This was their big tease that turned out to be not that big to me. It's just a radio. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, iFlight doesn't tease their fucking radio by the COO on, whatever. But this is Orca. Orca is basically this Orca radio is supposed to be $89. That's what we've seen in previews. And then it basically pops out this Ghost module, and then the Ghost module will be sold separately. This Ghost module is its own form factor, so it's like an Uber light. It's like a light module, but with these slider rails on it so that it fits in perfectly. So it won't quite fit a light, and it definitely won't fit a normal. Burger Iverson, thank you so much for the ISK. Is that kroners? I don't know what that actually means, but Icelandic kroners? I only know ISK because I play EVE Online. So I know that's an Icelandic sort of thing. But yeah, so this is a new standard bay. Doesn't fit a light bay. And then 89 does not include Ghost. However, this radio does not run OpenTX. So this radio runs its own operating system, and you connect to it with your phone over Bluetooth, like over your phone Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Yeah, Bluetooth. And there's no screen on it. And then it'll have Bluetooth, so you can Bluetooth it to your phone or computer. Basically, it's like targeted at first-time pilots. And they think that OpenTX is too intimidating. So one thing I want to say here is that my confusion really is just that if OpenTX is too intimidating, then what does the new pilot do that is going to go buy this radio and then the Ghost module when they want to start and have a quad? Because most bind and flies, and no whoops that I know of, come with Ghost as an option. So instead of them having to learn OpenTX, which isn't that hard and most of the time is very simple, like 5 to 10 minute setup, they now have to learn to solder the receiver, set up Betaflight for the Ghost protocol, make sure the receiver is flashed with their module that isn't sold with it because you're buying it with the radio. To me, like, I don't understand the disconnect there. I understand the idea, but without more bind and flies and whoop options, I think they've I don't know, cart before the horse, or at least maybe they understand that, but somebody's got to raise some horses and bring them in. Maybe they'll bundle it with a Ready to Fly. Mo brings that up in chat. That would be interesting. How much is 3,000 ISK? Jesus. 23 bucks. Thank you so much, man. I don't know any of the. I'm learning all these values. So yeah, so that's one of the things. Like AudioGek, to be honest, OpenTX was a mystery for me to 3 years. But you were still able to fly FPV, right? Like you were still able to do everything else. Like that. I don't know. It just seems a little weird to me that like that's the barrier that they're telling people is there. You know, OpenTX is so intimidating. We had to make our own proprietary radio. Even the gimbals are proprietary. They announced today they made their own gimbals. Because the other gimbals just weren't good enough or something like that. Which okay, but like I like my gimbals. They seem fine. Yeah, FPV Gizmo points out OpenTX has loads of vids to help out. Yeah, that's like the big thing to me. It's like there's all this user base. There's all that. Like if somebody comes in here and asks me a question about the Orca radio, I need to be able to. I want to be able to answer that question. So, unfortunately, like that's not an easy thing for me to do if I don't have the radio and haven't used the app. Like, are they gonna have all their own mixer bullshit? Like, we'll see what happens, I guess. Ghost Branch says it's okay for stuff to be intimidating for newcomers. We just need to teach newcomers not to fear intimidating things. Most intimidating things can be mastered within a few minutes or an hour. Yeah, getting over that barrier can be difficult for sure, but most people can make that barrier, you know, can get over it. Part of that can be definitely finding a community, but if you find somewhere like here or like the JB Discord, um, and you can actually like get the help you need and get those questions answered when you struggle, I think that's super important. I mean, that definitely made the difference for me. I never would have put a fucking quad together without being in a Discord. Good lord. Even just the video guys and stuff. Lemon C says, what if manufacturers just included comprehensive instructions in the product packaging? Wouldn't that be cool? However, the level of instruction quality that we get typically is just so low. Immersion RCs is pretty good. Like if you read the Ghost manual, like I've never used Ghost, but it's certainly on par, if not better, than the Crossfire manual. They're very similar in contents. So I would expect their manual will probably be pretty good. I hope it is. OpenTX is definitely not user friendly, but is OpenTX the barrier that kept you from flying, or would it have made it easier for you to fly if you would have bought a radio, but then it was Ghost only when you bought the radio? So then you're stuck trying to find like you know most people want to buy a bind and fly or a whoop and then bind to it and fly around their house or fly the bind and fly that they don't have to learn everything about immediately, and it's just hard. Like I started with the whoop. But I did that because I had a QX7. I bought a QX7 for the simulator, and then I could bind that QX7 to a whoop. But when there's not even, you know, a way to adapt, they are not supporting any other modules on that bay. You cannot adapt and plug in another module. They do not let you. It's Ghost only because it's not OpenTX. JRFB, thank you so much for the $5, man. Always happy to answer stupid noob questions. A lot of my day is stupid noob questions, and that's totally fine. They're only stupid because you just don't know that stuff, so we'll help you be smarter about it. Yeah, Captain Synap, TBS has always refused to do SPI. They just say, why not use a nano? It's small enough. Who cares? And with Express LRS now, we have the option for all these manufacturers to, not have to buy a nano. Essentially, they can buy their own stuff and build their own thing. So it's really cool. Beta FPV has a HDLRC, I think, has one. Happy Model has a couple of those integrated whoop boards. The beta one is different though. I think it's like an RX on the board still, versus the rest are SPI. JD says nobody ever reads instructions. That's true, but at least if there are instructions, people who do read them can get through with no issues, or with less issues. Let's say that. It starts as iFlight includes nice paper wiring diagrams with many other binding-flies. Yeah, I think it's diatone that I have a problem with because like a lot of times the wiring isn't clear. Like they'll draw the crossfire like it'll be an F4, and they'll draw the crossfire RX wire like the TX to RX wire on the same as the S-bus wire from like a FreeSky receiver, but one is inverted and one is not, and they don't tell you what to change to be different. So like I just would like better manuals a lot of time or better diagrams. Many of them are pretty good. Many of them are terrible as well. Manufacturers, if you're listening to this, hire me. I'll draw your diagrams and make your manuals and translate things into English better if you'd like. Tone says, do you think TBS and or Immersion RC should work with Beta FPV Happy Model whoever to get whoop boards with SPI versions of Tracer Ghost out there? From what I know about TBS, Trappy has always said he will not do it. So I do not think Trappy will do that. I do think, however, Immersion RC will or already has talked to those companies about doing that. However, the Zepto, the littlest one, is so small. It's like an EP receiver that I could also see him just making a deal with them to like have little spots for them on their boards. But also SPI makes a lot of sense. So the problem is you have to support it. It's especially in Betaflight. That's a different build of Betaflight for Express LRS. That's why like those all run 4.3. So $4.99 from Justin Rice. Bounty for my Catalyst Machine Works Bang God 7. Would there be an advantage to the iFlight SuxX 80 amp over a 60 amp ESC? It's $200, so curious if it's worth it. I almost guarantee it's not. You have to look at charts on those motors, but I cannot imagine there's any way on God's green earth that you pull 60 amps a motor on a 7-inch. So no, I do not think it's worth it. Nope. 60 should be fine. I mean, ESC amps are not all market. You can look up the FETs on a board and find out what they're actually rated if they're not scrubbed off. And there's many boards that actually use the proper FETs. Ghost Branch did water cooling for the first time. Woo. Yeah, that can be a little nerve-wracking for sure. Hard tube or like you're like a custom loop rather, presumably. FPV Gizmo, no, they cannot make them in the form factor for the Orca radio because the Orca radio will not support other modules. Orca was very clear. I asked very specifically. It is just Ghost. And just for confirmation. Oop. That was not what I wanted to do. Currently, it's just Ghost. Will the firmware support other modules like Crossfire or ELRS if somebody creates a fitting case? So no. They cannot do that. S-Bonder is here. How's it going, S-Bonder? Good to see you. Audio Gek, I use a T16 as my main transmitter. I don't know if that's preferred, but it's the one I have. So it seems I like the larger transmitters better than a gamepad, but I've honestly never owned a gamepad for a long time. So shady, no, I don't necessarily think they need to make the radios dual protocol, but it would be great if they did. I think TBS will have a life in the market because they're like they make good quality equipment and they have a name for a while. So I don't think even if like something crazy happens, I think they'll continue to sell hardware for a while. Ian Madstech said that he thinks that maybe they should make Express LRS like just sell receivers flash with Express LRS and design like that so they can be sold by a good company. But I don't know. I think Maytech is jumping in that boat now and being that good company. Later, Tone, good to see you. Trying to keep that cam there reframed. Mouse FPV, I have no idea. If they were going to do that, why even make it a module? I do not understand why the Ghost is a module, other than the fact that, like, basically, my guess is that I don't know. They say it's not nefarious and, oh, it's going to help new pilots and all this stuff. But realistically, what it feels like is like, hey, buy our radio that's Bluetooth so you can play the sim and then upgrade it later. And then when you go to upgrade it, it's like, oh, the only option is Ghost. So go ahead and buy the Ghost module so you can jump in our Ghost ecosystem. It's like, okay, cool, but like, I don't know. I would rather suggest to somebody any other gamepad radio. I own a Xbox controller, but that's not like a gamepad radio. Like, I don't have any idea if I like to fly FPV with a gamepad style controller. I don't consider those close at all. Or if they're close at all, then I hate gamepad controllers because, like, I only use an Xbox controller if I absolutely have to use an Xbox controller. Like, oh, I hate fucking sticks like that. I hate it. Yeah, Mo points out Maytech is not making the TX modules. He emailed them, unfortunately. Unfortunately, they are not doing it. So I'll have to wait for somebody else to make a really nice TX module. Mouse FPV donates $5. How did you splash onto the scene? Seems like you went from pot and not flying to news with JB in 2 months flat. It was a little longer than that. Probably like 4 or 5 months, maybe. Actually I could tell you. Hold on, let me find out. I believe it was um yeah, so that would have been like 6 months ish, I think. Yeah, I think it was 6 or 7 months I was in the hobby. But basically, I showed up in JB's chat. I learned how to build quads. I learned as much as I could about everything, and then I started helping other people because that's what I do. I started FPV on Christmas of 2019, so I'm almost at 2 years now. But yeah, so I was hanging out in JB's chat. I started helping people. Then I made a couple videos, and the combination of the intelligent answers and not like giving the wrong answers and actually helping people, um, and then that combined with making a couple videos that were like actually helpful, and I was decent on camera. He immediately messaged me and was like, "Hey, these videos are good. Do you want to do stuff with me? Because I need somebody to do stuff with." I was like, "Okay, cool." So we did it. Basically right place, right time. But my whole life has been right place, right time, and it's more about like being ready for opportunities. That's my opinion. Like I had no idea that that was even an option that JB was looking for anybody or that he wanted to do that kind of stuff with people. I was just around and it worked out. I have no idea if I'm on Drone Nation or not. So probably not. Well, let's see. Benjamin Wright, thanks for the simulator sessions. Yeah, we should be doing more of that. I think we're gonna do like Velocidrone and something else next. Maybe like Acro or um, yeah, I don't know. Probably do like one bigger sim and one smaller sim. Kind of the thoughts, where I'm leaning with that. Yanni5 or Giannis. Uh, thank you so much for the $5. Thank you, Blunty. Well, thank you as well. Thank you back. Yeah, just in the 2 years I've been flying, definitely a lot has changed. Anybody who's been around that long in the chat definitely knows that there's been quite a few changes. But like I came in after, for instance, I came in after uh DJI had already been out, and after a lot of the like changes, I don't know, there were a lot of changes that happened before I came in that people talked a lot about. I came in using Betaflight, so I think 4.0 or 4.1 may have been even out, but 4.0 definitely was out. Leadfinger says, after watching that sim video, I tried EdgeTX and it made a huge difference. I dropped 3 seconds a lap on the Champs 1 track. Less crashing too. Man, that's awesome to hear. Benjamin Rate, what do you think of the uncrashed SPV simulator? My impression when I flew it for like 45 minutes, maybe something like that, 30, 45, maybe an hour. Um, and I don't know, it was all right, but I like physics in my simulator, so was not a fan. I don't know. I'm gonna see. Like, I'm not trying to move sliders to fix the physics. Like, that's the job of the person who makes it. Mouse FPV, I have no idea. I don't know anything more than you do about how it works, so you'd have to talk to the guy who does it. I don't think it looks at like everything though. So like I imagine most of those values are not changing. Like it's looking at like step response and accelerometer data for like G forces and stuff. So it can do like acceleration rates and slowdown rates. I imagine most of those log variables don't change that it actually is looking at. That would be my guess. FPV Gizmos Curry Kitten Sim is on the list, but there's like 24 sims on the list or something like that. So I do not know if we'll get to Curry Kitten Sim. Yeah, but I don't think it uses all those feed forward variable names. But I don't know. Again, you'd have to ask the guy. I don't have any clue. So you're talking to somebody who did not make the game. So go talk to the guy who made the game. Doc, how many free sims have you gone and downloaded? And how many free sims has everyone gone and downloaded? If they haven't gone and downloaded them all, then they don't know if they're good or not. That's the point of reviewing them. That's literally what a review is for. So just get it and play it. Are you going to do that with 12 sims? Like, no, that's the whole point. Like, we're going to do that, and then we'll tell you. A review is about wasting time, not just about wasting money. That's my opinion. Yeah, JRFPV, the hobby is definitely constantly changing. Digital is the big thing now for sure, and HD0 did really well at Champs, or yeah, at Champs. So I guess we'll have to end up and see where stuff ends up. You know, they're working on new ICs already for HD0, so that is super promising. Yeah, I'm just interested for HD0 to get more and more hands. That's the big thing. I want to get more and more people flying it so they actually have good opinions about it. HD0 is Sharkbite. There seems to continually be a lot of confusion. We've said this on the news many times. We did specific videos about it. I've talked about it many times, but Divimath owns HD0. HD0 is the technology behind Sharkbite. Fat Shark does not own anything. Fat Shark just makes Sharkbite hardware based on the HD0 chipset owned by Divimath. Anybody can buy the HD0 chipset and put it on their own hardware for both TX and RX. Anybody who wants to. You literally email carl@divimath.com and order whatever you'd like to build your own components. He can help you out. So it's always been HD0 the entire time. That's the thing. Like the original hardware, the original system was called HD0. They saw Fat Shark saw HD0 at a trade show, and they bought the HD0 technology to use in Frostbite, their first iteration of HD0 and FPV. Then Frostbite became Sharkbite, or sorry, Bitefrost became Sharkbite because Bitefrost was analog conversion to digital, so you still used analog cameras. So that system took an analog camera in and then would convert that camera into digital. However, now, like, that was Bitefrost. Sharkbite in the new revision, all the changes they have currently, takes in a digital camera and goes digital all the way through the path. Captain Synap, yeah, the one watch should be out very soon. It's already in production. Yeah, Mouse FPV, I think it was literally just about resources and then Fat Shark not wanting to put money into it or whatever. I've said from the very beginning, basically the very beginning, that like I don't understand why you would launch a camera or a system that you're calling HD, and that you want to be like competing with DJI in any respect. Like just if you want it to be the best as possible, why do you launch it with a camera from RunCam, that shitty camera with a bad sensor that's less than you could use, and it has a plastic lens on it? It doesn't make any sense. So I feel like something had to go on behind the scenes there that we don't know about. But Captain Synap, no, you need some way to get HDMI into the goggles. So unfortunately, DJI doesn't have a way to do that without latency. You can do HDMI to AV converter, but in my experience, that has enough latency that it was not worth it. And also, it's just a fucking hassle. But Rotorshop Productions, I honestly do not know. I don't have HD0. I've flown it like one time, so unfortunately, I cannot tell you that. I don't have analog goggles, so it does not behoove me to purchase analog goggles just for HD0. That's a lot of money. If I didn't have DJI, maybe I would. I've heard the word Ruby a couple times, but it seems like another Open HD style thing. Let me see. I just use the UR-UAV adapter. That's the one I use, but most people would use the Digidapter. But you just buy like a typical VRX, like a rapid fire fusion, and then you plug it into the goggle. James Flores is here. How's it going? Amelius donates DKK 50. Let's actually find out what that means. That is a Danish kroner. Looking for a larger controller for pinching. Got a DJI V1. It's too big. Got a jumper T-Lite. Too small. Need ELRS support. X9 Lite? Any suggestions? Oh man. Isaac Mitchell, I use my DJI goggles for whoops. Yeah, I mean 100 milliseconds of latency is way more latency than we need, so I don't know that is close. That's what I would say. I don't know, Amelius. I have no idea. Like the DJI controller is small is a small controller if you're holding it compared to like a T16 or something. I don't know. Like there's not much in between that. I've never held an X-Lite, so I cannot give you an idea. I don't have a Mambo either. Frenzy Incarnate's out of here. Take it easy, man. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. QX7 feels pretty similar to me in size. Interesting idea. Printing grips for the T-Lite. I'm hoping that the off-the-shelf options will get better. Is the main thing I would hope. Like just going back to that comment about 100 ms. Like my hope is that we find some solution for like off-the-shelf stuff from just new chips that come out for like 5G and stuff. I've heard really good things about options on those chips. So James Flores donates $5. Hey, Blunty, I was out on my TP3, TBS AO with Nano 32, and I got black bars horizontally across the screen on that quad. Somebody here could probably tell you what black bars horizontally means. I don't remember offhand. I'm like only digital now, basically, other than whoops. So I so rarely worry about that. I'm not sure which interference black bars is. Stuart D89. No, I did not see that. Do you have a link to that? Like, can you tell me where I would find that information? I mean, EdgeTX is an open source project, so I'm not sure who would be partnering. You know what I mean? Well, they have a website. Okay. Or they have a link on the website. That's easy. There we go. Huh. Seems like weird to be able to like, I don't know. That's a team decision, so it just seems weird for the team to be able to like organize that such that everyone feels taken care of. You know what I mean? That is up to them to decide. Yeah, a lot of people are saying grounding or telemetry back from the receiver, that sort of thing. Yeah, it says guaranteed donation. Provide a monthly or annual donation agreed upon with the EdgeTX team as part of that requirement for manufacturers. Yeah, JRFPV, what they're saying basically, a digidapter or UAV adapter can do analog, and that just plugs with the AV cable. I mean, if the goggles don't have HDMI in, then no. I mean, you know what I mean? That you have to get the analog video from somewhere. The only in they have is AV. So there's no magic way to get video in there any other way. I mean, if they had an HDMI port, then maybe. But they do not. And the USB side of things has been looked at, but as far as anybody knows, there's not like a real way to get a non-latent video over USB into the goggle. Like you would have to do custom firmware on the goggle, which nobody has done yet. No JRFPV. It is DJI's proprietary transmission, so there's no way to make a VTX that talks to the goggles. It is not possible without custom firmware on the goggles and the VTX. No. Cadex makes DJI equipment. That's the thing. So like Cadex can make a DJI VTX. They buy the VTXs from DJI. So if Cadex wants to make, okay, let's say Cadex wants to make an air unit, right? Cadex orders air units from DJI, and then they package their camera with the air unit, put it in a box, and sell it to people. But that's all in the DJI ecosystem. Yeah, there's no adapter it starts. You can do HDMI to AV. That's definitely an adapter you can do, but I believe that adds latency. At least when I tried it, it added latency. It's possible, like I saw a design with a pull-up resistor sort of thing, like a weird like circuit that would possibly convert it with the less latency, but I have not seen any good solutions for that. And then when you do, the problem is like it's going to be formatted weird. It's in like a tiny little box because the AV in doesn't get the whole screen. There's a lot of other pieces there too. GMI visuals, what do you fly the most? The Sim? Does that count? Because it's definitely the Sim. Blast 3D. In my experience, gimbals fail by slowly getting more and more jitter or drift, and then they're just not fixable. So you'll go to, use the stick, and then repeatedly the stick will drift, and you'll have to change the setting for the midpoint or recalibrate. Or they just fail to calibrate at all. So I believe it's more like over time. But a drift is kind of something you have to deal with regardless. Like if the drift is sort of bad, uh, the place to look for the yes, you can definitely see the drift. I mean, if it's if there's drift, then when you move this, then the stick is going to be moving. So you're going to see that because it's going to be input into the quad, right? So yes, you can definitely see the drift because the drift is the stick, and the stick is what you're using to control the game, or control the quad. If you go in the receiver tab or on the outputs of the radio, you can see the actual output values, and they make sure they're correct. But the only sim I've really flown whoops in other than Tiny Whoop Go is Velocidrone, and Velocidrone is definitely better than Tiny Whoop Go. So. JRFPV, I would argue that DJI is why a lot of people are in the hobby. If all I had was analog, I would fly way less than I do. That's for sure. Mike Lozovsky, I'm not sure what that means. I mean, DJI is why I still get excited to go fly. So I really think it brought a lot of people in the hobby, including the DJI FPV drone, which is a big hunk of whatever, but I think it brought a lot of people. Mike Lazowski, if you mean like the actual sound when you start it up, then you would have to. I don't think that's possible because it's like an actual played sound. It's not a bunch of MIDI notes. When you do music on an ESC, it's all MIDI notes. So I don't think it's possible to emulate that sound. That sound is like a sound clip that's played essentially. mean, everybody who I've ever put DJI goggles on is like, "Oh my god, this is amazing! I have to get this right now." You know, that kind of stuff is what keeps money in the hobby and people interested. I mean, I got my money's worth out of my system. So even if the support isn't ongoing, it's definitely been helpful. And I think everybody thought DJI was already out of things, and then they brought RunCam on as a partner. So I don't know. I don't think you do that if you don't care about the system. You know, they're shipping out new air units. They're shipping out new DJI cameras. Those OG cameras are coming from DJI. They're not coming from Caddx. So they care some. For whatever reason, they care. And they had a beta. I mean, I had a beta firmware. They got pulled, unfortunately, but the beta firmware showed that they were recognizing that the air unit recording SD issue was a problem. Um, and that the air unit recording SD issue was a problem, that the AVN blackouts were a problem on analog. Mike Lozovsky, it may move the motors, but that's probably just to test them. I still think it plays the sound out of the speaker. I mean, regardless of what it does, all you can do on BLO32 is make notes and then make them for, I think the shortest is like a 30-second note. So you'd have to find a way to have a bunch of notes in order that could make that sound. But that sound isn't a bunch of like notes in order, really. It's like a smooth, like, whatever it is. I don't own one, so I just know it offhand. But well, the reason Caddx is a partner is because that way they can sell the Caddx Vista, because that Caddx Vista is not FCC approved. So the way they get around that is they put FCC on the box and have somebody other than DJI sell it. So Caddx is the one who gets to do that. And in addition to that, because they make cameras, then they get to make cameras for the system. Nicholas Azar, Edge TX, yes. Henry rips paper and cardboard. Is that a good enough answer? That's what he's ripping when he's out ripping in the field, or sticks or something, you know. But typically like paper or cardboard. FPV Gizmo, not really. They're precious. He does also rip some good farts. That's correct. All right. Well, it's been 2 hours and 10 minutes. I feel like this has been a good stream. We've had some good conversations. It's been a good time. So I think we're gonna call it there and say goodbye. Yeah, he's got a pretty good life. He's got some problems, but he's got a good life. All right, I'll see you guys later. Take it easy. Thanks for stopping by. Give this video a like if you don't mind before you leave. That's always helpful. Subscribe to me if you're not subscribed to me somehow. I don't. Maybe some people said before they got unsubscribed, so worth a shot. Leave a comment when this is over. That's always helpful. Let people know, and I'll be back on Thursday at 1 p.m. MST for another stream. Tomorrow we'll be doing the news, and catch me on the news. So, how about that? Later, guys.